we're going to continue with our discussion on procedures. These are the different procedures. We've done hand sorting, sieving, and filtration. Now we're going to move on to magnets, evaporation, and distillation. Okay, boys? And remember, for these ones, what I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to tell me how the procedure works, what sort of mixtures we use it on, and then what are real-world examples of it. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. The first one's going to be the easier one for this video. It's magnets. Okay, so magnets are used to pull metal or magnetic materials out of mixtures where some parts are not magnetic. So if you have a mixture of metals that are magnetic and some other objects that aren't, we use magnetism to pull it out. And really it's as simple as going, here's a mixture, put a magnet in it, pull out the metal pieces that are magnetic and leave behind the rest, okay? Magnets attract some metals and not other metals. We use magnets when the one of the parts of the mixture are magnetic, okay? Keep moving my face. Magnets can be used to pull metal materials out of the mixture, such as in a scrapyard. So here, this guy obviously wants to pull out certain metals so you can recycle them. So he uses this crane with a huge magnet attached to it. That magnet pulls out the metal pieces and leaves behind the pieces that are not. So this is when there's a mixture where we use this in examples where there is a mixture of magnetic stuff and non-magnetic stuff. And examples of where we use it are in scrapyards, and we do kind of also use it in certain filters, water filters, to make sure we're not getting certain metals into our body. Yeah, that's magnets. So, all right, boys, evaporation is the next procedure we're going to talk about, okay? Evaporation is when we get a liquid to boiling point, to its temperature where it boils, the liquid begins to turn into a gas, and the particles leave the liquid and turn into a gas and float away. That is evaporation. Those particles of liquid turning into gas particles and floating away, leaving less and less liquid. Okay, now, when separating solution, we use evaporation. So a solution in most cases is when we have a solid substance inside a liquid that's dissolved. So if we take sugar and we put it in water, the sugar will dissolve inside the water and form a sugar solution, okay? Now, if we want to get that sugar out, what we do is we use evaporation. So we pour the water into a pot and we begin to boil that water. And as that water reaches 100 degrees Celsius, some of the water particles are going to evaporate and turn into turn into gas and float away. Okay, and it's going to keep going. And eventually, all those particles of water are going to turn into gas and float away. And only thing left in that pot is going to be the sugar we dissolved inside of it. That is evaporation. So you should be able to explain how evaporation works, that the liquid dissolves and the solid is left behind, okay? So that's what evaporation is. That's how we do it. We use it on solutions where a solid is dissolved in a liquid, so that's the type of solution we use it on. And examples of when we use it when making salt. So what's happened here is they get a whole lot of salt, seawater from the ocean, and then they cover a small amount of land in very little water, seawater. They let the sun heat up that water and cause it to evaporate. So the water evaporates, leaving behind the sea salt. And that's how we actually make salt. So we could actually make salt when we're back at school. I can collect some clean seawater and we could make some. That was my plan for this lesson, if COVID didn't get in the way. Anyway, that's evaporation. Now we're going to talk about distillation. Now distillation is like evaporation, but on a whole nother level, okay? So this is the process where two substances with different boiling points can be separated by evaporating the substance with a lower boiling point and condensing it again. So let me explain this, boys. Let's talk about an example. If I took water, which I have here, and alcohol, which I don't have right now, and I combined them, they would mix together and form a solution of alcohol and water. And I wouldn't be able to get them apart. I wouldn't be able to filter them or hand sort them or anything. But I could use distillation. And what distillation does is you have your solution over here, your mixture over here, you heat it up to a certain temperature. That's what the thermometer is for. And what happens at that temperature? So remember, water has a boiling point of 100 and alcohol has a boiling point of 87. So if I heat this water up to 87 degrees, the alcohol is going to begin to boil and turn into a gas. And the alcohol gas is going to leave through this pipe over here. But the water isn't going to get hot enough to dissolve. So the water is going to stay behind. And what's going to happen is the gas, the gas alcohol is going to travel through this pipe, which is cooled down by this water flowing around it. And as it cools down, it turns back into a liquid, or condensates and drips down there. Okay, that's what distillation is. Okay, I'm going to read this, which says exactly what I just said. The solution is heated to the first boiling point is reached, until the first boiling point is reached. And the temperature is held at this point. As the first substance is evaporated, it rises as the gas. The gas is cooled down and it condensates. When the gas condensates, the drops of the first substance are collected and set aside. All right. Now, here's just an example of distillation. We'll talk about it now. But we use distillation when a substance is made of two materials with different boiling points. Okay. We use distillation when we're making clean drinking water. So when water has a whole lot of stuff mixed into it, we can boil the water and collect and condensate the water again and get pure, clean water and leaving behind all the pollutants and bad stuff. We also use it in making spirit alcohol. The spirit alcohol is whiskey, gin, brandy. All these alcohols, what they do is they take things like wine and beer. I don't know what they take for gin, but wine and beer are taken for brandy and whiskey respectively. And what they do is they boil it so that the alcohol and some of the water evaporates with it. And then they cool it back down, collect it, and that is the alcohol, okay? And they also use it for disinfecting alcohol. So the alcohol in hand sanitizers that we're using so much now is actually used made through distillation, okay? The same, yeah. All right, fantastic, boys. So those are our three processes we covered today. Is magnetism, evaporation, and distillation. You should be able to explain how all three of those work. You should be able to explain what sort of mixtures we use them on, and you should be able to give examples of each one. If you have any questions, boys, please send me a message in Google Hangouts. Okay.